Wow. Look at you both with your great hair. That's why I have a hat on.
Hi, sir. Hi, both. Thanks for coming.
No
Thank you for
problem.
having us.
Yeah.
How's everyone doing this morning and evening?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. It's evening here. It's
Is it
morning
Yeah.
there.
it's
We're
early
10:30 in the morning. Yeah.
and that's
Wow.
early for me.
Yes,
Yes, it's
sir.
early for me. We start with coffee. Okay.
So, sir, can you please both introduce yourself to my audience? We'll talk about yourself too today.
Sure,
Billy, you
sure.
go first.
Okay, sure. It's Billy Greer, and I'm from Toronto, Ontario, Canada. I'm the producer at I Cogitate Productions and a friend of Sean's. So, do you kind of want me to get into the business part of it, or personal, or where this journey went? What did you want to hear?
About everything.
Everything. That's a
Yeah.
wide open. Okay. Well, I was born in Sault Ste. Marie. No, we won't go there. But yeah, I was from the Sioux. I've met Sean about 23 years ago. I'll start with our story because I think that's what you're looking at. And I was running a couple of after hours in Toronto, speakeasies, booze cans, and they were on the faster side of things. And that all went south for a while. And I ended up sleeping on the street of Toronto and losing everything. I had my stuff was confiscated when the booze cans were closed. Sean and his partner at the time were gracious enough to take me in, no questions asked. And really, I had no job, I had no nothing, anything. It was just before Christmas. I remember that, Sean, because it was November when I was on the street and it was chilly. And I remember watching people walk over me, and it wasn't with this compassionate look because I was cold. It was more of a look of, can you get out of my way? And it really bothered me. And I wasn't on there long. It's not like I was homeless for a long time. Sean and Brian actually fixed that. But I remember that Christmas, and I remember waking up that day to a stocking and presents. And um, I didn't think I was going to get any that year. So that was a big thing for me. And, we were younger. We were all in our 20s back then when we were hanging out. And, you didn't get as deep as we do now in our 50s. And things mattered as much then, but you didn't necessarily say that. So, they got me back on my feet. I ended up getting my job back at the bar. I think I was working for a while. I ended up going to Sault Ste. Marie, and life took a big turn. I got some really good jobs and developed some great skills in the music business. I was a songwriter, and that's kind of where I thought my career would take me. But it didn't. It was 30 years of pounding down that road, and that's a hard business to break into. And then fast forward 25 years, Sean and I never argued. We just kind of went our own separate ways. I'd seen him a couple of times, maybe on Church Street through the years, and it was just, catch up fast, but there was never that need to do what I had to do when I saw his picture. I was watching my TV, and I was watching this interview of Sean for a couple of years, probably a good year and a half, maybe a year. And it was about his encounter with the serial killer and surviving it. And we were fascinated as a community. It had us, in the grip of its hand, and I kept saying, "Oh my God, I wish I could meet this person." I had so many questions, just on a personal level, to come that close. Well, it turns out that I knew this person very well. It was my roomie 23 years ago. And once I started listening to the voice, I realized it was Sean. And then I tracked him down, and I think you were in Portland.
Yes.
Or, yeah. And then he just said he'd been blowing up my phone when they actually, he was, the lead witness in this case. And when they let his social media accounts come in, I got a hold of him quickly and just, told him, I said, wow, I feel compelled to tell your story. And I was very honest. I said, I've never done this before. I don't claim to be an experienced producer by any stretch, but I'll learn and I will give you your angle on the story. This will be your voice. And, we have a friendship, so that goes a long way in this industry. He was getting some big pitches, but they don't know his heart. And, he didn't take them off the street. So we had a really cool full circle moment. And then we started filming. It's been 2 years ago now, and when I talked with Sean, I said, I've got a director and an executive producer, and his partner is our musical director and executive producer and website development creator. So in the 5 executives that we get, and I think you're speaking with Tammy next week, if I'm not mistaken. You've been talking with her. And, we all come pretty loaded. I was the most inexperienced out of the whole group. And they were patient enough with me and brought me along, but I knew Sean's story, and I knew Sean's heart, and I know we didn't want to sensationalize this in any way. We wanted to tell his story. And the reason it prompted my reaction was when he had said to me, Billy, there were some headlines that insinuated, McArthur should have finished the job. And I had a real big issue with that. That was my friend. That's someone's child. That's someone's partner, co-worker, everything. How we get to a place where you wish that on somebody you don't even know. That, I think my response to that surprised Sean. And there were a few things that happened that just seemed like a perfect fit. So we started filming July 26th, 2019, 2 years after his anniversary date. And I think you can probably take over and introduce yourself. That's kind of where we got to go. But the story is, the Sean Cribbin story was I next. So I want you to kind of hear this point on from Sean. So how's that? All right.
Well, I'm Sean Cribbin of the Sean Cribbin Story. I just had the easy part. All I had to do was show up because and be me. So that was cool. I made a few things clear at the beginning. I didn't want the killer's name mentioned more than necessary because I didn't want to glorify him. I wanted to pay tribute to the victims. That was very important to me. And be a voice for them. That was one of the conditions. What was there was something else I said I wanted to do. I can't remember.
The size of your trailer was a bit much. No, just kidding.
They did treat me very well, and I had a personal assistant too, so that was nice.
You didn't want his name mentioned, and there was to be the memorial for the victims right at the beginning of the doc.
Yeah.
You had laid out a few things.
Victims' names are listed first and last in the credits, and then if you wait till after the credits roll, there's this message from me, and the very last moment on the film is me reading out their names. And a lot of people probably won't see that because I think a lot of people get to the credits and then will walk out. But if they wait till after the credits, there's a 3-minute message from me.
A powerful 3-minute message from him. Yeah.
It's a speech he did up at a tree planting ceremony when we were doing a commemoration for victims. So that was very moving.
Yeah.
So how did your career started?
How
did your career? Yours, yeah.
Mine? I don't have a career anymore. I was a teacher for 25 years. I have Parkinson's disease, which is shake. So I took an early retirement because I wanted to travel while I could still walk. And then it was during that being off work where I decided one day to go on an app and hook up with a very bad man, and that sort of took my life like this, and it turned it upside down completely. Because after I found out what had happened that day, I went into shock and trauma, and I'm still in therapy today, and I've worked through a lot, and I'm on the other side of it. But there were moments where if it weren't for the support system I had around me, I probably would have lost it, because it was a lot to take in. It wasn't just the fact that this man tried to kill me. It's the fact that in social media, people were debating the fact whether I deserved to die, and that was very difficult to read. and I stopped reading it eventually. But you can't help but be drawn to what people are saying about you. So I was reading that stuff, and there was that, and there was the preparation for the trial. I was very nervous, and I felt like I over glorified my position, that I was like the key to solving the case. But I realized that wasn't. That was just, and then he pled guilty, and those days were the toughest because I heard in detail what he did to each victim in court, and first of all, knowing that could have been me, but then I'm sitting with the families of all the victims, and to be sitting with them and hearing what he did to each of them, and then I'm sitting there as a victim without a mark on my body and still breathing. I felt very guilty. So it was a lot of guilt that came with that in those days. And then after that, I felt like I didn't exist anymore because I'd been gearing up to be a key witness at the trial, and then there was no trial. He went to jail, and my charges of attempted murder were never brought forward because originally they wanted me to be a key witness, not a plaintiff. So I understood that, but then when there was no trial, it was just like that was it. I was done. It felt like there was no record of my crime, and I think now my goal there is when he's eligible for parole, there's no statute of limitations on attempted murder. So if he's up for parole, I'm going to be there. Or if I'm already dead, I'll have someone I'll have it in my will that they can go and then bring my charges forward to slow him down because I don't want him to get out. Period.
And that's why you survived.
Yeah, there you go. That's the reason. Make sure he never gets out again.
So when did you come into these films?
You.
Yeah.
Well, I got involved. Billy did a pitch. I was getting I was talking with the BBC, Universal, NBC. Some lesser, freakier offers were made. Like people were coming at me from all angles. That's why I ran away from home, and it was in Portland. Because I couldn't be in Toronto he had just been sentenced, and I was too newsworthy at the time, so I just got out and I went to friends and I stayed there. But Billy, there was the day I turned my Facebook back on because it had been off the whole past 2 years because I knew reporters and stuff were going to be trying to find out more about me. And so I turned it off. The day I turned it back on, I had a friend request from Billy. And I accepted. I pushed accept, and within a second, you were like, "Oh, can I call you?" And then he called me Portland, and he was first going over his shock of not recognizing me for a year and a half. And then, but I've changed a lot. I'm hairier.
Your beard, you've changed your appearance a lot in 25 years.
And then he started to do a little bit of a pitch, and I understood, and I agreed to meet him when I got back to Toronto. And I called as soon as I got back, I think. And then he came over, he met my partner, and the rest is pretty much history.
He started
So what was your first film you worked together?
This is it.
Number one, this is our first one out the gate. So we're kind of surprised at how well, especially in India, we were very surprised to see it take off so well over there. And that was important because we had entered Istanbul, and that was where one of the victims was from. So that was a big moment for our team. We're very cognizant that this is could reach someone from his hometown or at least his country. And the response was overwhelming. I mean, that just kind of lets us know we did it the right way. That was respectful and the way that we wanted it to come across. There's a really good message there. And, when Sean would talk about, I don't see why you think I'm so brave or courageous, because I'm not sure, and I've got a pretty strong voice, but I don't know that I could do what he did. And I have to be honest. It takes a lot to hold your toes to the fire and let everybody take a shot, good or bad, and have their opinion. You've got to defend that or not. Now he just sends them over to me. I'll defend that because I believe in his, I can tell you 25 years ago the kind of person he was, and I can tell you still the same kind of person he is today. So, I think that was what gave me an edge over everyone else, because I had a little bit of comfort with him. And that was at a situation, tumultuous and everything, like you said, when he turned it upside down. He needed to find, a good person to center with. I don't know that I was a good person to center with, but we did a good documentary for him, that's for sure. We wanted to respect his story. That was most important. There were a few things he had said. There was a point in time when we started filming that day and we went to the location and he was very upset. That surprised all of us, including Sean. Remember, you weren't thinking you were going to handle it like that, but it was a lot for him to relive.
The first day of filming, I wasn't used to having a camera this close to my face following me around. And it was the anniversary date of the day I actually went with him. So it was on the same day, just 2 years later, and we retraced the steps. We did a reenactment, and then when we got to the building, and I knew which floor he lived on, and I knew that it was a corner unit. And when I looked at it, I just had this overwhelming panic, and I wasn't expecting to feel that way, but I just remember the director was there with the camera, and I just kind of said, "We have to go."
We have to go.
And then nobody moved. And then I just said, "No, we have to go right now." And I pushed past the camera and they got in the car and they closed the door. And that was the only time I really reacted on
There was two. There was that time, and it was kind of cool how there's juxtaposition of these, Sean, when you think about it. That was a time of overwhelming, bringing it all back to you. And we felt your heart as soon as he's made it clear. The crew, and I will always say, we stood behind him. That's the boss right there. And if you're uncomfortable, and this is going down the road where I don't want to trigger any PTSD responses, I do that on my own. I don't need to do it with filming. You know what I'm saying? But I just, we were very conscious of Sean's mental health and heart and spirit and well-being during this whole thing. And if it wasn't going in the healing direction, we stopped. And the only other time was at Cedars, and that was when it was overwhelming on the other side of it, Sean. Remember that? And everyone was lined up to hug him, and just really this community got behind him and really pulled him right back. And he was wiped out, and he said, "Billy, I can't handle it anymore." And I said, "That guy's been waiting." Yeah. And I said, "That guy's been waiting for so long." And you went right over to him. But that was the other end of the only other time when I think it was overwhelming, couldn't handle it. So on a good note and a bad note, I think that was full circle for sure.
So while making, have you thought that this documentary is going to get award?
No, I didn't.
I thought it might get an Oscar. No.
Yeah.
I thought it might get
big
too, but it's been getting 36 awards.
36 awards and counting. We have 45 festivals left. I mean, that about says my reaction. I didn't see it coming. We did this to tell his story. That was the motivation behind it. We're working on the book. He's got, there's some plans. I mean, he's got some stuff in the works. I just wanted to have his story out there and told properly from his perspective, not anyone else's. And I didn't want it to be my take on Sean's story or someone else's take on. I wanted it to be his. I wanted him to be proud of it and say, "Yeah, that's kind of how I felt. That's what happened." I think when you speak your truth like that, the response is what we're seeing. People can feel that. You know what I mean? They see it. And by the end of the documentary, when we showed it to a couple of friends or family members, that's what we're getting as feedback. They want to know more, and they feel like they know him, and they're pulling for him, and they hear the message. So mission accomplished, I think.
Yeah, and it almost had a very different ending because I almost died during the filming.
Yeah. Oof.
That was very, very close.
That was very scary.
They told my partner I was going to die. And I was in the hospital, and then apparently I'm invincible.
He was hospitalized about 3/4 the way through filming, and we didn't know what was wrong. It all went septic. He had the infection. I remember I couldn't see him for about a week because I was immunocompromised and not, strong enough to go down. And so, wow. Yeah, it was about 5 weeks, and Sean got a really big scare. Like, we didn't really know what the hell was going on at that point in time. And Steve, his partner, said this documentary could take a different turn. It was that touch and go. So we're happy Sean, he's here. We're glad you're alive. That's for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Twice.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Sean. Can I say that because of the personal experiences that you have, and you putting that as a story and projecting it and showing it to the world, that made people to connect with it and get you awards.
Thank you. Thank you.
Because of the real thing, because of the intensity of the emotion.
Yeah, it's very raw. That's for sure. Like it's me. Like it's all me. And I'm when it does go into wide release, I'm a little bit nervous, but it's just me.
Yeah. I think you're going to be fine.
Yeah. When you got, as a producer, when you got this thought to make this documentary, so what was the first thing that came into your mind?
Humanity. It was such a gruesome story, so you have to remember, being in the village before I made the connection that it was Sean. And it took on a whole new life of its own then, because I had all these things I had to tell this person who helped me out 25 years ago, and to think that I wouldn't have got that chance. So it became very personal for me to do a good job for Sean. But what was your question again? See what happens at 10 o'clock in the morning on this end of the ocean? What did you ask me? I'm sorry. I forgot it.
The first thought that you got in your mind when you...
The first thought, and I said the humanity, right? Because we were enthralled with this story. It was pretty gruesome. This serial killer, he was very barbaric, and what he did to the victims was a lot for anybody to digest. So we had to take that part of the story, dial it back, handle Sean's healing, make sure that everybody knew where he was coming from, and try to put all of that into a good package and get him down the center of the road again. And I think that Cedars was really the only thing I had for a big, it would have been great to have a dinner or to have friends and family, but we needed a community's worth of support to bring this one back to this, creative soul again, and just a functioning person. That, who comes across that? One in, I don't know, get struck by lightning is probably better odds than ending up escaping a serial killer. So that's heavy. So it was all about putting the humanity back into this story, making sure the person, the world knew who this person was. Yeah.
Yeah, Sean. So while shooting it, while you creating the story that was there in your mind, what was your thoughts?
It was, part of it was because the coverage in the media had been very, they went for anything salacious, like the fact that it was a hookup, and the fact that there was some kink involved, and the fact that there were some drugs involved. Those things were the things that were being propelled forward. But I needed to show that I was an actual person. Like, I had a mother. I had friends I grew up with. I went to, like, all those locations. That's my elementary school. That's my church that I had my first communion at, and I was confirmed that. And that the stairs we're sitting on, that's the stairs of my high school. Like we went back to those places, and it was very important for people to see that I'm not just this one cardboard piece of this story, but I'm a human. And I think it was hopefully teaching a lesson of, like, you've got to put yourself in other people's shoes when you hear someone in the headlines. Think of what brought them there. Like, don't just take it at face value. There's a person there.
And shout out to Francis, Elise, and Brian, because, Sean's friends from, grade school stepped up. And I mean, I think he got a lot out of that. We did. Like, I didn't know them. Sean and my friendship started in Toronto, and Steve's in Toronto. So I didn't know his past before me. And they were, wow, that added a whole new element of it to me. And so I got something out of that, as well as I know Sean, and, to see him interact with his lifelong friends. That was very special, and they were very cool.
Yeah.
So after making it, you both are sitting together and watching your own documentary that you created. What was your thoughts?
It was emotional. I was I could not get through it without a box of Kleenex the first probably 10 times. But now there's still Elise, my prom date from high school, the blonde girl that I'm talking to in the film. She still makes me well up with tears.
Yeah. Like, it's powerful. Yeah.
But it was very hard. Like, obviously I can't watch it and separate myself from the subject because it's all about me. So it's like, I never know. Like, it's been wonderful to see it so well received around the world, because it was, like, I knew it inside and out because it's me, but it's just, I didn't know if it would translate to people and be something that they would care about. But the response has been fantastic. And it's made me feel very, very grateful.
So the best response that you cannot forget.
Good question, Si.
Yeah, that's a very good question.
For being awake at night. Remember, we're in the morning, so don't get us too hard here.
There were some anonymous messages that came in the day that my initial interview broke on the news. So it was like, no one knew who I was, but someone had leaked my name to the press. And so there was this one interview I did, and it was going to air. And when it aired, on one of the apps, I got several, but there was one in particular that just stuck out. And it said to the effect, like, me and my partner were watching the news this morning. We saw your interview. I just want you to know you're very brave and very courageous, and what you are doing is helping gay communities around the world. So keep up the good work. And that was like exactly what I needed to hear, because I was like, when I first saw the interview on the news, I was like, what have I done? Like, oh my gosh, it was just like, I thought I told way too much. I have no filter. I just talk. It all comes out.
So, Bill, what is the response that you cannot forget after making this documentary?
Oh, wow. There's a few of them, but I have to say the response that I was most nervous about and that it mattered the most was probably Sean's, because, if I didn't know that story, then he would have told me about that. You bet that. Okay. Like, I knew the story. And, then I would probably say, I got my cousin watched it, and she watched it out west, and I gave her a secured little link, and I needed her and my aunt's feedback, because we could only get a few families and friends, because there was the pandemic yet, there's no screenings, we didn't get that chance. And her response to it was unbelievable. She looked at it from a straight woman's perspective, looking at our life kind of on the outside looking in. And she commented about Cedar. She commented about Sean's coming out story. She hit on things that, I cried a Lassie commercial anyway, so it was pretty wiped out when I watched it. But to hear someone who is 5 provinces over, she's in Vancouver, Adrian, and just the way she went on about it, it really hit me. Like, that's someone who, that's going to be the typical response. And it was overwhelming because there was so much fascination to, he pulled them in and they wanted to do more and just really felt his pain when he talked about his experience with his coming up. Just different things that I never hit on, like that didn't, not to say I didn't feel them, but I felt them on a different level. And to see someone that far removed from it draw on things that I wasn't aware, like she was quite fascinated that how many candles were lit at Illumination, honey. Like, I remember when she said that to me, I thought, oh, I never thought about that before. Because we take it for granted. That's part of our life. We live that. So that response was probably, next to Sean's, the most surprising to me. And I will never forget it. It made me think this is bigger than what we've done. Yeah.
So have you used the real names of the people who are involved in Sean's experience?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything's truthful. We didn't change any names. We didn't pull any punches, and he had to answer all the hard questions, too. You know what I mean? We didn't hold back, I guess, is the best way to say it.
And we have a lawyer that monitors everything that is by the book.
Yeah, Cheryl keeps this between the lines, for sure.
So as a producer, as a storyteller, both of you are telling the story and telling the names of the people who are involved in this. Have you ever thought that this is a risk?
As far as the story itself, the victims and that, like everyone knows, like that's public record.
It's public.
But if anything, I wanted their names in there because those are the people I want remembered. Victims often get forgotten. Like you remember John Wayne Gacy, but do you remember the people, the 30 some odd people that he killed? No. Like I want these names to be remembered. It's very important. That's part of my job.
And I wasn't nervous either. I would feel with Sean like we only went in with that, coming from a good place, and I would never have wanted to disrespect anybody or dishonor their names. It was all about, making sure it was done properly. So I wasn't nervous. I was conscious there could be a little pushback because maybe we went, and put it out there a little too far, but I really think it was tasteful, and the response we're getting at the festivals kind of says that it was done properly, I think.
And anyone who appears on camera has signed a release.
Yeah, they've all given their rights to come on camera, so we're okay there, I think.
Yeah. So, which country people will connect with this documentary?
Sorry.
Which country people will connect with this documentary?
Which country? Wow.
India so far.
India has certainly been our biggest response. Like our festivals, every festival we've entered, we've done really well. And Istanbul, we've done well. In Australia, they've picked it up. I mean, our country and the States, pretty much anywhere that we've and the UK. So it's just started, Si. Like, we really have, since December, gone into the festivals, and it just hasn't stopped. But India is without a doubt our biggest response, for sure. Yeah. So thank you. That's great to have this story told. That's huge.
Why do you think this story resonates so much in India with the people who watch it?
Why?
Like what? Because the story has been very well received, like at the festivals, and I'm just, what about it is hitting a nerve, or I'm wondering. Have you seen the film?
No, he hasn't seen it. He's only seen the trailer.
Giving him, we would have had.
I'll have to give you a screener.
Yeah.
I
have to.
We'll get you a screener.
We'll get you a screener, then you can watch it.
I have to because after listening to you, I can understand the story contains a lot of intense emotion.
Yeah, it does.
Yes. Good, like,
And
yeah.
it
You
looks
know the
real.
emotions,
Yeah.
the ones that I found most surprising, like you expect an emotion like that from Sean's friends or family, but it was the people that we didn't know, like that were cedars that were lining up down the road, like, 150, 200 feet down the, like people coming in, just strangers to show how much
For how
this meant. Yeah. And their memorials that they did to remember the victims were unbelievable. Like we saw them working on those because we went into the park early to get set up, and we were there. They were working on those displays all week, and some of them were holy mackerel. I mean, they put a lot into it, so that made us feel really good, you know. And I think the families would feel really good knowing their loved ones were remembered like that. Yeah.
Can I say that Sean is different before telling this story, after telling this story through this medium?
Oh, this has been really healing for me. Like doing this documentary. Before this, I was basically a hermit. I still wasn't going out of my house. Um, and I wasn't using any of my brain power at all. Like there was, but this sparked my creativity. It got me back out into the world. It gave me a reason to a reason to go on. Not that I was not suicidal, but I was just in this like vacuum of like nothingness. It was just weird.
Yeah.
And once getting involved in the film, it just started to roll, and like the creative juices that like we all of us we just like started to flow, and the five key members just gelled really well.
Yeah. We have a good, solid core team at iCodge, and wow. I don't know. I kind of saw. I knew both. I knew the Toronto crew and I knew the Sioux crew, and they were both saying the same things before I ever met. Like, if he doesn't like us, then we'll step back. And Sean's everyone. I knew everyone would kind of fit, but the skills that came, like we had everything covered, and yeah, I'm pretty happy with how it came together on a production level. If I have to, because it's hard to wear two hats. I have to keep the business end of it and keep that keel moving forward. But I would always check in with Sean. And there were days when I'd say, look, if you don't want to do this, you just tell me right now. And he knew I meant that. Like, he knew he had that with me. That was it. If you were uncomfortable and not there 100%, then you don't do it today. We'll wait for you.
And my partner's music, I have to.
Oh, yes.
It's so beautiful, and it's all original. And he did it not knowing what the end result. So he basically composed for emotions, different emotions, like or danger, and then he did. There's one waltz in there during the illumination. It was just beautiful. It adds so much to the film.
Sai, you'll be able to see some of that on wasinext.com. That's the movie site, which his partner, also developed. I mean, Stephen created the music. He developed our websites. I said I'd always still be stuck on setting up our email accounts if it wasn't for him. Like, he's very gifted, and he shared it with us so beautifully. But he created that website, and it's not one that's built from templates. It's different. He made it all himself, and his music is in there, so you can check that out.
Yeah, you get
pretty good.
Second
I have gone through the website.
Oh, you've gone
design.
through. Oh,
yeah, the design is fantastic. I'm a software developer. I'm a software engineer. I did masters in software engineering, so I know. I have my website. I designed myself, so that was fantastic.
So,
your website
yeah,
was.
Oh, good.
My husband
will tell Steve.
Time worked for Steve Jobs.
Ah,
he worked for Apple, but way back at the beginning. The very first Mac computer up in the corner there. It's a clunker.
Yeah.
It is fantastic. That is fantastic. Mm-hmm. Sean, you as a storyteller, Willie said that humanity And what do you say?
Um, I see humanity as well, but it was
Yeah.
it was all about showing people what I went through, I guess, to a degree, but it was more of how it was a
How you handled
struggle
it.
and a constant battle to get over it and it was almost like you're walking through mud and then all of a sudden you get free and then all of a sudden you're walking normal. That's that's what this was for me personally, because it's my story. So if it wasn't for the documentary, I think I'd still be stuck in the mud.
Yeah,
To,
that's a good analogy, actually. See how creative he is now. Like we like that. Getting mud analogies out there like crazy. But I agree with that. I think that both of us would have seen the humanity part of it. Because when I said that to Sean, he agreed. Because there were 8 victims in a week, and he more than any one of us kept that at the forefront. That was big. And I will say there were a couple of things that happened with the doc, like when we didn't have the names at the beginning. And it was Sean who said, Billy, you need to make sure that this is done properly. And he knew exactly, and our investor, both of them came at me that night and just said this was, so you make mistakes as you go, but that was trial and error, figuring it out. But they were really big on making sure the victims were remembered properly. That was important. Yeah.
So what do the people who didn't still watch this documentary, what they develop that you think? What do they think? People who still didn't watch this documentary.
What will they think of it?
Yeah, yeah.
I
Um,
hope they see it
yeah.
as
Empathy?
yes.
Yeah. Nice. I hope so. I
I
hope
hope
so.
so. I feel, and there will be haters again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because anytime you put yourself in the public eye,
Yeah.
there's going to be people who don't like it, or they just want to be mean.
Correct.
I wasn't prepared for it the first time when I did the interviews and I was in the middle of the trauma. I wasn't prepared for that side. Apparently, people told me that it's very common that people hide behind um, an anonymous
Computer.
whatever, yeah, on the computer, and they're and they'll lash out at people because they know there's going to be no recourse. But this time, I'm not going to read it. So I'm getting the word out that they don't even have to write bad things because I'm not going to read them.
There
Okay.
we go.
So you're not going to read the reviews or the
I'll
responses.
I'll I'll read reviews of the film and any constructive criticism, but I will not read attacks on
Yeah.
myself or my friends or anyone who would step forward to be in the film, because that's none of us deserve that. And
That's
people
right.
got to realize that
That's right.
these are real people, and so if they don't like me, that's okay, but they don't have to put hateful things down.
That's
Like
right.
like
Just because.
like
Sorry.
during the first go round, like I had my septum pierced, and someone took the time to write, "Oh, McArthur should have torn his septum out while he had him there." And I thought,
Mm-hmm.
what? How does that help anyone? It doesn't add to an intelligent conversation, or something. They were attacking my appearance, which for me was a waste of energy. So, but at that time I wasn't prepared. So I read all this stuff and took it in, and because it was so fresh. It was just it really shook me. But this time it's not, because I'm not going to read the awful stuff. I have people for that now.
Yes.
So Billy, how much time it took for him to put the story in a format, and how much time it took for you to make it?
So start to finish, I think we were 19 months in the can to get it done. When we met in February, and from February till July, when we started filming, we got everything developed, and the company, the key players, did the storylines, kind of figured out where we were going with it. And we started filming, and it was pretty smooth. I mean, the pandemic changed a few things. We had Tammy and Brian were to be doing the narratives. We were going to have a male and a female narrator because we just kind of thought they'd be different parts of this originally. Well, March 15th, the pandemic hit. Tammy and Craig were stuck up in Sault Ste. Marie. Sean and Steve and I were down here. It would have been hard for Sean to be the narrator because he's the subject. So Tammy and Craig said, Billy, you have to narrate. And I'm like, that was not expected. That was not anything that was written into the original plan. That was a holy crap, the pandemic's on, and change gears, get this finished, because we wanted it finished for the festival season this past summer to start. And that was in March, and I got them finished in May, all by myself. And then we just kind of sent it back and forth. And that was a surprise to everybody because it wasn't supposed to, but you just kind of, no one saw this coming. And we had to get it finished. And Craig said, Billy, you know the story from both sides of it. So you narrate it. And then I'm sending that to the Sioux for post-production to do the edits, because it was kind of a weird place to be in. We would have typically all been together when we hit the editing room, Sean sitting, up there with us or down. That couldn't happen because the pandemic was on. In March, April, May in Ontario, we were in lockdown. That was it. So we couldn't travel. There was no flights even up there. That was it. So we had to either buckle and let it go or get it done. So that was a change that we didn't see coming, and I think it worked out okay.
So what about casting? You need exact characters that Sean needs, right? So in order to tell the story, how much time you took for the characters and for the actors?
Well, none of them are actors.
Oh, yeah, no, they're all real. We used his friends and his mom and like everyone that was in his life. We brought into the documentary. So there is no, it's a real story based on a real story, and we used the real people in it. Right down to there were a couple that we had letters out to a couple of Sean's students, 3 of them actually, and they were going to be in the documentary, and we had made arrangements. But the day that Sean went into the hospital, that threw us off. I was not thinking, we were only worried about Sean, and that was Saturday morning. And I remember, I had, Sean said at 12:30, did you let them know? So I had called them all back and apologized. But then he was in the hospital, and it was 5 weeks out, so we didn't. And then Christmas came, and it just was bad timing. We couldn't get them in. So a couple of things happened like that. We just kind of had to adjust. But yeah.
So Sean, what about music? When you're telling story, you need a background sound that exactly can add to your emotion that you are telling, right? You need a strong a person who can create a sound that will match with your emotion, right? So while mixing, while editing, Billy was telling that you was there and you was involving and you was watching everything. So what was your thoughts?
Well, again, it was my partner who composed the music. I can actually go get him if you want to talk to him. He'll love that. But he...
Hi, Mookie.
He didn't know how it was going to end, how it was going to come together, so he just picked emotions and hoped that it would fit, and it was just, the music is like beautiful.
Incredible. He's won some awards for his music already.
Yeah, he's won a Best Original Score.
Few times.
Few times.
In India.
Yeah, there you go.
Mm-hmm. So, no, Stephen's music, and he did that. He did it based on emotion. It was called like Danger or Illumination Waltz, and he just, that's a really cool perspective. Oh, good. To sit with, because, yeah.
Come sit.
That's great.
He has to put his shirt on.
So, Billy, what do you think?
You're going to go meet all of us.
Yeah.
You're going to meet the whole crew, Si, okay?
So, you've got Tammy and Craig?
Well, we can pull Craig in next week if you want.
Then you've
I
got
can
the
get.
whole crew.
Then you've got the whole crew. We can get the director and the EP in there next week for you.
Yeah,
EP in there next week for you.
yeah,
Tammy and Craig.
definitely,
This is our
definitely,
composer.
we'll
Good.
do it.
Yeah. There's Steven.
Hi,
Hi, Steve. Hi. Nice to meet you.
how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Hi, honey.
Hi, Billy.
He's asking about the music, like how you mix it into the emotion scene.
Yeah,
Oh,
Steve,
well,
we was talking about the documentary, and we was talking about the work that you did for the documentary.
yeah,
So
I
how
mean,
did you felt?
well, it's so the writing for it's kind of rare that a documentary has a composed score for it because generally, when the way that they make documentaries is the director doesn't really know like what the narrative's going to be until the end, like because up until that point you're just documenting things, right? And it's not until the end where the director has all the stuff to edit together into a narrative, right? So that doesn't really give a composer a lot of time. So what I've done for other films and what we did for this one was at the beginning we kind of I talked with the director and we laid down like a sonic landscape that we wanted to work with for the film. So like the kinds of instrumentation, the style of composing that we would do. And that gave me a framework to work with. And then he gave me like a list of 10 or so different emotional beats that he wanted to kind of get and that would work, no matter how the narrative came together. And then so I went off and wrote those, and that gave me some time to actually work on the score while they were filming. And that meant that by the time they were ready for doing editing, they had some music to work with, right? And so that worked out fairly well. So, it also gave them music to be able to use for the trailer. And like tied the whole sort of piece together, stylistically. I mean, there was like, with 36 hours left to go at the end of the editing process, I get a call in the middle of the night from the director going, I need something that's going to make everybody cry, right? So right. But the good part is
You're welcome.
Yeah. The good part is that I by sticking to the agreed sort of sonic landscape that we wanted to use, those things that I ended up writing kind of in a panic at the end, they still sound like they're part of they don't sound like, separate. Like, I mean, if they had to go use, some sort of, off the shelf sort of score, from a company, right, it wouldn't have sounded as much a part of the film as it does, right? So I'm happy with it. I mean, I think it turned out pretty well. Of course, it helps that a lot of especially some of the deeper emotions, in some of the pieces I was able to write, from firsthand experience because it's my market. But I mean, yeah, I'm happy with the way that it turned out. So.
Yeah, as a music director, as a music creator, the intensity of the emotion. Since it is a raw story, it's a real story, right? So when he told you, when he narrated you, the background score of the movie is very important. When he's telling very interesting story or real story, you have to add more, and that exactly matches with the emotion that he's telling, right? So
Exactly,
that
right.
the director can put it in public so that he can expect the reactions, what he wanted.
Yeah. Film music is always about trying to capture an emotional response from the audience, as in as little work as possible. Like you kind of want to, so you need to be kind of fairly upfront and direct with the musical sort of language that you're using. And it's, so it's, and I've always loved movie music. That's part of my, my history. When I compose for any, I always get told my music is very cinematic, right? So I mean, so that's good, right? But it's, yeah, I mean, it's affected too by the film. Like when, partway through, like the middle of this filming schedule, when they did I don't know if you've seen the movie. If they did the part at Cedars at the campground, right? For the illumination weekend, and it was I saw some of the initial footage that came back from that, and it was so beautiful and so like lyrical, really, that I immediately went and, like, in the middle of the thing, broke all of the rules that we had set down, and wrote this waltz, right, a very sort of, pretty, very magical sounding waltz for Cedars, and that turned out to be really like one of the better pieces in the score. So yeah, it also, you take inspiration from the movie as well, right?
So what the responses that you're getting for the music? What is your feeling after listening to the responses?
Oh, so far it's been really positive. Like, I mean, it's I think there are two of the film festivals, both of them in India, and one of them in Turkey, I think. They've awarded the movie best score, right? Which is amazing, right? That's certainly I wasn't expecting anything like that. But it's it's been, I think the response has been quite positive, so that's good.
It's beautiful music.
Well, I mean, I think so. But it's definitely it's definitely keeping in line. Like, one of the things that the director and I agreed upon at the beginning was that we would use, like, what they call modern scoring technique, which is to not try and turn it, like, if you go and you listen to a movie like Star Wars or Superman or whatever, like that have a big score with them, not the new Superman, the old one, the one that was Christopher Reeves, they have, these big sort of scores with, like, songs in them and musical, that you come out singing, right, or humming, right, and modern movies don't do that. Like, there's you get like something that's scored by, say, Hans Zimmer, and the most musical it is like two notes or something. Like, I mean, it's very, it's very much about very quickly kind of getting into the audience, into a headspace. And so that's called modern scoring technique. And we agreed to do that. So I think that it fits in with a lot of the new films that you're seeing now in general. It kind of fits in with that because it's more, we included things like sound design and stuff in it. So there's noises in the score that aren't really made by any musical instrument necessarily, right? That are sort of manipulated sounds and things like that. So it was fun. It was a lot of fun to work on.
So, Billy, what do you say about his work? Now your documentary went very far, and people are watching it, giving you compliments and giving you responses. What do you say about his music and his contribution to the movie?
I can say it without words. I mean, and I will say that even Stephen was a little humble. What had happened when Craig called him, let me say first off, it's second to none, and I'm blown away by Stephen's music. I'm a songwriter. Music was my thing until I met Mr. Southers. And I just kind of stepped aside because he's a master at this. He's studied at the Royal Conservatory of Music for 25 plus years. And, I can sit down and write a score the way he did that. And I will say this, the time that Craig phoned him on a panic, I got the first call. Craig said, I just need this piece. And I said, call your musical director. Like, why are you calling me at 12:30 at night? Call Stephen. And he was, Craig knew me. They were still just feeling, it was our first year of their company being formed. So everyone wasn't really exercising their titles to the maximum. I said, call Stephen and tell him what you want. So Tammy had said the same thing. Craig calls him. Gets the piece and goes, I kind of like the other piece better. I said, then you need to tell Stephen what you want and give him that piece and say, I want you to do better than this. Wow. I got a call the next day and Craig said, you were right. He's way better. And so I knew that all along. I knew you just let Stephen know exactly what you need. He's going to blow it away and give you that because this is his partner. So you're getting the emotional side plus the skilled side. That's a winning combination right there. I think he's fabulous. Plus, he also developed both of our websites. We were sitting there casually talking one day, and I'm struggling over setting up an email account. And Stephen says something. He goes, Billy, do you want me to design the website? This is first for I Cogitate. And I looked at him, and he goes, I had a web design company for years. Before I did this, I'm like, holy crap. Like, he came to the table loaded. So we are very blessed to have him as our musical director and executive producer. He's taken on a whole bunch. He gets the whole movie start to finish process. He's a great writer. that's Sean's partner, so he's got the heart involved. Like, I mean, we had a really tight team. Everyone kind of
Can
fit
I
their
can I
role
say that?
pretty good.
Can I say that this success is a contribution of a beautiful producer and a multi-talented music director and
I think so.
a real and intense and raw Sean story.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the story, yeah. Like, I mean, it's.
Yes, you can say that.
Yes, you can. Thank you. Very nice, Si.
No, that's wonderful. Thank you.
So I don't
Did they
know how.
tell you I'm a crier? Are you trying to get me to drop the tears before we end this podcast? I do it like that. It's very nice of you to say that. Thank you. And yes, I agree with you on Stephen's part for sure.
Yeah, because
And Sean.
the success means it's everybody's contribution.
It's a good fit.
Everybody came together to create a beautiful product.
And we did. There were no egos in the way. Everybody got down to work, and just kept bringing more and more and more. When you want someone to bring an A game and then they bring an A+ game, that's a home run right there. Like, you can't ask for more than that. I had a really easy job, I have to say. There were stressful moments. We were under the gun. There was time constraints, getting into festivals. We have investors. I had to answer to Sean ultimately on the storytelling part of it. But really, I had an easy run of it. I had a ton of talented people around me. Wow, you can't go wrong.
So Sean, do you have a plan to write a book about this?
Bye, Stephen.
Bye. See you later.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you for your time.
I'm currently writing a book. Yes, it's different than the documentary. The documentary is a chapter of the book, but this is more behind the scenes of the. I kept a therapeutic journal when I was going through everything, so I'm using some of that to get the emotion day to day, like the really struggle days and all the different facets that people I don't think realize a victim goes through. And I hope to explain it because there's actually scientific research why people victim shame. So I'm not giving them an excuse, but I'm at least explaining why people do some of the things they do that are not appropriate. So I think it's coming along nicely. It could be coming along faster, but
I know.
My TV's there too, so.
And I'm slower on my end too, Sean. It's a busy time. Like,
yeah,
we're trying to get the doc out there, get the book started, and he's got a lot of press. He's got a lot of people
yeah,
who want to have a podcast.
In 2 minutes I have to be doing
yes.
radio.
It is that time. It's 11:30. Oh, time flies when you're having fun. That's for sure. Wow.
Yeah, really. It's a good time. You gave a lot of time to make me ask questions and you too, Sean. You gave me your valuable time. At last, do you have anything to say to the new people who didn't still watch this documentary and have any words to say about it?
I say just go in with an open mind, and it's actually it's almost a love letter from Billy to me, because it's just he's paying he didn't have to pay me back, but he's paying it forward and doing something for me, taking care of me when I need it, because I did that for him 23 years ago. So it's come full circle. Yeah. I think it's that message alone is beautiful.
So
especially
really,
in these trying times, I would say.
Okay.
So
do you have anything to say about this documentary?
I will say this. When our investor watched it, the thing that surprised me the most was Brenda said, I never knew this was a documentary I had to watch with my kids. Wow. We were going for a pretty wide audience here to have the message be told, because I think online dating, hooking up, everything that, goes with that message of tell somebody and be smart about it. And then you end up meeting a serial killer and your whole world gets flipped up. And how do you put back together the pieces? I think the thing that comes out of it for me is, like Sean said, go in with an open mind and an open heart, and you're going to come out with a better perspective on life in general. There's some really good messages in there. And it's not just to do with this encounter. It's to do with the broader scope of life. And I think that I'm surprised, pleasantly surprised, to see the whole final outcome. You know, the music amplifies that emotion. Sean tells the story beautifully. And I think the whole crew came in with a really dedicated heart. It was our mission to make sure he was okay. I can't ask for more. I think it's going to be well received.
That's great.
I can't wait till you see it.
I will watch it. If you give me opportunity, I will watch it, and I will
We'll
tell
get
it
you
to my people also, because I really connect with the real stories, the real people, and the raw emotion, the real emotion. I love watching documentaries rather than fictional stories.
I've
So
watched some of your videos and I see that connection, Sai. You get right down there like this with people. They're very comfortable talking to you. You're doing a really good thing out there. I know.
I love. Yes, sir.
Thank you for the kind words too. That was very nice.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Sean, for giving me your valuable time and telling me about your work and about your project and about your career, how you both started your career and where you came from. So thank you so much. I will try to tell everybody who I know about this documentary who didn't watch, who want to watch it. I will share the link in the description of this video. People who wants to watch the documentary, who wants to go, who are interested in watching in the real stories, and this is the best product for you. And you have to watch this, and in order to know the story of the person, and also Sean said that they are real characters, real actors. I mean, real people are there in the
The real
movie.
people.
I'm sure you people will connect with this story. So thank you so much, sir. Billy, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Sean, for
Thank
giving
you.
me
Thank you.
opportunity. So also
You
I want to
bet.
thank Steve for
I will
the
let him
music
know.
director of this documentary. So if possible, I will make another interview with all the cast whenever you give me time. I want to talk with everybody when you all have time, so that
Okay.
we will have another chat,
Okay.
and so
You
that we
got
can.
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Absolutely. We would be honored.
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you, Sai.
Thank
Yeah.
you. I'm
Sean,
gonna
you've
sign
got
off.
another one to go to, and
Yes,
I'm
I
off.
have 15 minutes. Okay, I'm
Okay.
gonna grab something
Thank
to
you
eat.
very much. Wow, I
Okay.
Yeah.
enjoyed this.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye now.
Can I Yeah,
Bye now.
can I put this video on my YouTube channel, on the internet, on social media with your permission, with Steve and with
Absolutely.
Sean permission?
Absolutely. Yes, we would love that. That helps get the story out there, Sai. Thank you so much. We appreciate
Yeah.
that.
Thank you, Willie.
Alrighty.
Thank
We'll
you.
be talking to you next week. I'll see you with Tammy and Craig.
Yeah, sure, definitely.
Yes. All right. Have a good day. Thank you very much.
Take care.
Bye now. You bet.
Bye.
Bye bye.